But it does add the question as to if this is something that they were taught, if this is something that was ingrained in them, then why did Kiely all of a sudden decide to get in her car? So, what I did was I asked a few people who I didn't know, but they were, families, they were parents. And I ran this scenario through them. I said, if you had a 16-year-old child and they went to a party with some older friends and, they all went together and all of the friends came home and they were okay, but then it turned out that your child was never coming home again, what would you think? How would you react to that? And every single person who I spoke to had the same answer. And that would be that they would be incredibly angry with the friends. That it is just a given that if you go to a party with your friends, then you come home with them. Whether it be a male, whether it be a female. If you're going somewhere, you go together and you come home together. And that was without any of the little caveats that we have in the Kiely Rodni case. I didn't say that the friends had deemed that the party that they were at was not a pleasant place to be. We know that Mags left shortly after arriving because of the drugs. We've said it countless times. But she left, and she left Kiely there. Now, it could be that Kiely wanted to stay there. She didn't want to leave. Maybe she was so used to sort of hanging around with druggies. That was something else we've been told, that she did hang around with druggies, that it was just normality. Maybe Kiely was used to that, so she didn't see it as a problem. She knew other people she knew was there, so she decided to stay, and it was Mags, angelic Mags, that just didn't want to stay, so she left. I didn't tell them that part. I didn't tell them the part about the other friend who was yet to shed a tear since she found out that her friend had died. And look, she could be crying behind closed doors. She could be. She could go home at night, close the door, and break down in floods of tears. I just don't fucking see it. But you have to ask yourself, when you look at this bunch of people, this group of people around this case, and you don't want to go down the route of saying, oh, they're a cult or they're a specific religion, but something isn't right. When we are humans, and look, I know there's not a rule book for how people will deal with grief and losing a child, and heaven forbid, I haven't lost a child, so I can't say, I'm not in the position to say that someone's behaving right or wrong. But I believe it is not out of the realms of impossibility or possibility that a parent would kick off or be incredibly angry at the people who were really involved in keeping your child safe. They were part of the group that went out. This group of people were Kiely's final evening. They were together. I don't understand why nobody has any questions. I don't understand why there isn't anguish. Because we see it in the father and the grandfather. We see it. They want answers, and there is a clear divide between what the father and the grandfather are going through versus what the rest of them are going through. And it's almost as if you've got the normality, or what I would class as normality, that automatic anger. Why did you leave her? What was happening? Was she drunk? Why was you allowing her to drunk? If you knew she was drunk, why didn't you take her home? Why didn't you make sure she got in a car? If you thought she was staying there, why didn't someone stay with her? All of these things you can see in their eyes when they're sitting down by the water's edge, staring into where Kiely's car was found, I can only imagine the questions that are going through their minds. So why aren't they over here? Why are they not questioning law enforcement? Why are they not angry that law enforcement didn't find that vehicle? Why are they angry that Adventures with Purpose did find the vehicle? Why is that a problem? Why did they attack Adventures with Purpose so easily when they found Kiely, but they didn't get angry at the children who were around her in her final hours? And when you look at their behaviour, the videos, the interviews that they've done, and the questions that they've fumbled and fucked around, why are they not angry about that? Or are they hiding it? Are they very angry, and are they just keeping them close to themselves? But like I say, I ask strangers how they would feel, how they would react, what they would do. A lot of them said that they'd probably string the kids up who was out there with her, and I'm not condoning that behaviour, certainly not. You can't go around stringing people up. There's a few people I'd like to, but you can't. But I just can't get my head around why they wouldn't be angry with these girls. I don't get it. Maybe that I'm just a weak person. Maybe some people say, well, that's just weak. You've got to learn to forgive. It's not their fault. They're young. They don't know what they're doing. It's a fundamental part of being a friend, being a group of friends, to look out for one another. Surely that's it. But our children just change so much now. You know, we've got a scenario where we have teenage girls in our family, and two of them in particular, bearing in mind they are biological sisters, they do not get along. And one of them, she has trials of herself. You know, she has things that she is dealing with and coping with. She has anxiety issues. And the other one has no empathy for that whatsoever. She does not care. And you know, it's difficult. It's difficult because when you see it in your own home and how they can behave against one another when they are siblings, it's then not hard to understand how people who are just friends and not blood relatives can have absolutely no care or compassion for one another. Yes, they can say that they're friends. Yes, they can hang around together. But it's almost like this whole world is turned into a materialistic thing where you hang about with people who can offer you something, who makes your group of friends look better, or you can feed off, or they've got similar narcissistic traits, because that's all we see. In what we've seen with this bunch of kids, is some in particular, is utter narcissism. Sociopath. You know, we're seeing situations which is almost like they are goading social media, putting videos up that they know are going to antagonise and then quickly pulling them down. I don't know what is going on around here, but there are so many things that it could be. You know, we're talking about that when you look at some of the posts that have been put up about Kiely, it seems that most of them are saying that Kiely was unhappy, that she, you know, have you now found the peace that you sought? You know, I wish I was there to pick you up. You know, there's so many things, and I can't get my head round the fact that everybody, the mother, the friends, the boyfriend, everybody was so adamant that this was a smart girl who wouldn't drink drive. She knew not to do that. She had the option to sleep at this place. That was the normality. That was the norm for these kids. If they went somewhere, the parents said, you stay where you land, and the following day you get yourself back home. That in itself is fucked up. But it does add the question as to if this is something that they were taught, if this is something that was ingrained in them, then why did Kiely all of a sudden decide to get in her car? If she was so drunk that she could walk, she couldn't hardly walk, she couldn't hardly talk, how the hell did she drive through the terrain? We've said it before, miss all the trees, all the potholes, all the divots, in the darkness, and then drive, once she's gone through all that, then just drive a straight line into the water. You know, they had survival training in many, many things. They learned to live around this area. They knew about survival, how to get found if they got lost in the wilderness, using reflective elements. Weren't they trained how to get out of vehicles if they entered the water? You know, even the father, I think it was the father, it might have been the grandfather. I think it was the father, actually. I'll get there in a minute. Asked when the vehicle was found whether the vehicle was upside down. So I thought straight away that was a bit of a strange question to ask, but whether he was thinking, is that why it wasn't seen from above? I don't know. Or was it because he knew that that's how the vehicle was going to go and that could have stopped her from getting out? I don't know. But I've got so many questions still. And I just wonder to myself, is this community going to get away with this? Are they going to get away with it? We're hearing through the grapevine, through SF Investigates, that the FBI have closed the books on the case. Obviously, it's no longer classed as an abduction. So, you know, now it's not an abduction and it's something that's happened within that area that's being dealt with locally by the sheriff's departments that we know of. And, you know, so now we've got a scenario where everything is in this little hub. We've got kids who are clearly not talking, even if, you know, I believe that a lot of them lied in the beginning. They've now got themselves in a situation where they've got to keep quiet. They've got to keep their mouth shut. We don't know whether there's any video footage. There is nothing whatsoever. This is an absolute closed book situation. There's nothing. You'll find nothing. And we don't know anything. And we're likely to not know. And I wonder whether we're just going through the motions and on the 1st of November it's going to be ruled an accidental death or inconclusive. They'll have no proof of anything, just that on that night Kiely's vehicle entered the water and she drowned. Again, I have to have a side note, which is becoming frustrating because of this tow truck incident. I'm not going to talk about it. There's enough videos about it. You know how I feel about it. But that's what I'm getting at. What happened? What happened to this girl? Is it just showing you that as time is progressing, the way in which teenagers specifically are changing and the world we live in, there's just no empathy, there's no care anymore. They genuinely didn't care. As long as they got home and they were alright, that's all that mattered. And, you know, there's not even any guilt. I think that most of them think, well, you should have stayed there. You got in the car, you drove, and this is what happened. And that's the impression that I get from what I see. I truly hope that Kiely gets justice, but at this stage, I genuinely can't see it. I'll see you all in the next one.